Hey everybody, welcome to another video brought to you by the Minecrafters. I'm Captain Jack, and this is going to be a mod spotlight on refined storage for Minecraft 1.10. Just a quick note before we get started, it is October 31st, 2016, and this mod is in heavy development, so there's a good chance that it will be outdated very quickly. In fact, it is actually already outdated. The point of this video and releasing is basically just to give all you guys who are playing 1.10 packs a good understanding of what refined storage is and how you can use it when you're playing in your server or a single player. Alright, so refined storage is basically a clean way to store your item, hence the refined storage mod name. And it's going to require a few starting resources. So quartz enriched iron is the main resource that you will need to make most of your stuff. Furthermore, you'll need a machine casing, which is 8 quartz enriched iron. You'll need a controller, which is the first starting block, and that's a little bit of silicon. That's Ender IO to get started, but it's pretty simple. So basically, just a bunch of nether quartz. The controller is the first block that you're going to want to build, and this is what it looks like when you place it in the world without power, and this is what it looks like when you place it in the world with power. Now inside the controller, it has a cool little GUI in here, so you have your total RS power storage here, and RS converts to, I believe, RF per tick. It's the same conversion rate, so it's 1-to-1. Inside the controller, it will tell you how much RS per tick each of your devices that's on the network is using, and you can scroll down once you have more things attached to this, and furthermore you can use redstone mode up here at the top here. So luckily the block accepts power from all sorts of different mods. So we have Ender IO conduits here, we have IC2 glass fiber cable, and mechanism cable here. So whatever mod you're using to provide power, just go ahead and slap it on your controller, and when it lights up, it looks like that. Now it's important to note that as you build your network, your blocks need to be adjacent to one another. So if this has no connection here, you can see that there's nothing connected. If I use a cable to connect these two machines here, you can see that I'm using one cable and one solderer. So this is using 11 RS per tick. And you need to make this really early, probably right after you make your controller or at the same time as you're making your controller, because this is going to be a really important block for all the rest of the recipes in this mod. Alright, so what do you use this block for? Basically, you're going to use it silicon to make the printed silicon, and then the basic, advanced, and improved processors here, and then the destruction and creation cores there. I didn't say that right. Construction and destruction cores over there. So these are going to be used in basically all the rest of the recipes for this mod. So what does this block do here? It has 3 slots in the GUI over here. It will accept stacks of things. So if you put some silicon over here, it's going to give you some printed silicon, which is really neat. If you go ahead and throw some, I don't have an iron block in there, but a piece of gold will make you an improved printed processor. Combine printed silicon, a printed improved processor, a bit of redstone, and you're going to come out with one of these improved processors. Okay, and you can check out all the recipes to this if you just look them up. So yeah, this is going to be a really important block. It can also be sped up with speed upgrades here, which we'll talk about in just one second. All right, so once you have your controller and your solderer, what you're going to want to do is build a grid. And the grid is this, and it will allow you to access all the items on your network, which is fantastic. The grid can, you can put a grid filter in here. We'll talk about that in just one second. But before you can actually store any items inside of your network, you are going to need some storage space. And that's going to be created by making these 1K, 4K, 16K, or 64K storage parts. And if you're looking to store fluids, it goes from 64 all the way up to 512. The grid filter that I just mentioned can be used to configure the items that you actually want to see inside of your grid. So if you open up the grid filter by just simply right-clicking, don't sneak right-click, put the blocks that you want to see in your system inside of the grid filter here. Hit escape and go ahead and put it inside of the GUI of the grid up here, and it will only show the things that you have selected there. So you can use your storage parts for one of two things. You can use them just like this to make a storage block, or you can use them like this to make a storage disk. The storage blocks are placeable in the world, and you can access them by right-clicking. Inside you have a whole bunch of different options here. You can actually whitelist, you can blacklist, you can use redstone mode, you can compare data, you can set priority. So let's say you wanted to use this 64K storage block here to only store stone, and you're going to set this as priority 1. So whenever stone enters your system, it's going to have a priority set to this storage block, and all your cobblestone is going to go here, and only cobblestone will go into it because it's in whitelist. You can also blacklist mode. In my opinion, building a disk drive and inserting all of the disks inside of this thing is really the better way to go. You also have whitelist mode and a whole bunch of controls here, and will allow you to store, basically combine all this stuff into one block, which is really fantastic. Just make sure it's on your network. So before we go, we're just going to talk about this block called the relay really quickly. If I look inside my controller here, you can see that there is a disk drive that's active and it's using 8RS per tick. If you attach a relay onto your system, let's say it's a linear fashion just like this and there's no other connections to the disk drive, if I turn it off using redstone, it will basically disconnect anything that's further than that or away from the controller off of the network. So if I go back into the controller here, you'll see that the disk drive is gone. So that's the relay. All right, so let's say you've set up a basic network here. You've got a disk drive, you have just 1K storage device with 0 of 1,000, and each block is going to take up 1. So if I put inside of my grid, if I right click, I can shift click inside of here, and you can see that I have 384 dirt. If I open up my storage space, you'll see that 384 of 1,000 is taken up. So I'm going to dump all this iron ore into here. And now let's say I want to actually auto process this. This is where the importer and the exporter are going to come in really handy. The importer will take items from an inventory outside of your system and bring them into the system, and the exporter will export items from your system out and into an inventory. So let's say you have some sort of ore processing thing set up here, and you want to import everything that's coming in from, let's say, your quarry into your system. So attach an import bus onto an adjacent inventory, and everything that comes in there is going to get sucked out and put in your system. So you see that disappeared, and it happened pretty slowly. You can actually upgrade the importer with a stack upgrade and a bunch of speed upgrades. This will pull stacks at a time, and this will make it pull faster stacks at a time. If you want to export items out of your system, just use the exporter. Go ahead and put the item that you want to export in here, and it will start sending everything out to the inventory that it's attached to, provided that it has the room. And again, you can attach a speed upgrade, a crafting upgrade, and a stack upgrade. The crafting upgrade will automatically try to craft the item as it's trying to export. So if you don't have any in your system, it's going to try to craft. So you'd want to make sure you have redstone control over there so it doesn't just keep auto crafting a whole bunch of stuff for you. All right, so this is a really basic ore processing setup here using the importer and the exporter. So if you take your exporter and set it to iron ore on the top here, it's going to export iron ore into your sag mill. It's going to crush it. It's going to come down into the alloy smelter, and it's going to get sucked in using the importer. So if I go ahead and put this back in my system here, you can see that it's slowly being drained. It's being exported up here. It's coming into the sag mill, it's getting smelted, coming down here, and it's getting pulled out of the system using this importer right here. And if I attach speed upgrades to the importer, it would go faster. All right, so let's say your system is running out of space, which it rapidly is because all of your ores are processing, and you really don't have many resources to build more of these. You can go ahead and build this external storage, and what it does is it basically recognizes the contents of an inventory that it's facing as part of your system without actually taking up any space. So what I've done here is I've whitelisted dirt on here. I'm going to set it to priority 1, and what's going to happen is every time I place dirt inside of my system, it's going to automatically be stored inside that chest and not as memory in the system. So I'm going to put these inside of here. I'm going to open up this, and you can see all the dirt actually went straight into there, and it is still in my network, and it's not taking up any space, which is really great. Now bear in mind that there is a capacity to this, so you can only store 6,912 items in the external storage, so just be aware of that. Hooking up this to like a DSU or something really isn't going to work that great. The relay is a block that you can attach to your network, basically to send a redstone signal based on the amount of items inside of your network. So if you open up the GUI here, you can see that I have my detector set to detect if there's more than 400 cobblestone, and I've set when it's above the limit. So you can do under, being auto-crafted, when it's on the amount, so on and so forth. So when it's above the limit, I'm going to go back to this here, okay? It's going to emit a signal to this relay here, and the relay is going to basically allow this export bus to work, which is exporting cobblestone out of my system. So right now I have 387. I'm going to put a bunch more in there, and it's going to start exporting stuff out into a trash can because I only really want 400 cobblestone. When it's done, the relay is going to turn off, and it's going to leave me with, it got one cut off, but whatever. Okay, so you get the idea. You can use this in more like advanced ways if you wanted to get a detector, set it to this relay here, and then attach the relay to something like a mob farm, so the detector would activate when there's like less than 9 wither skeletons inside of your network, and then you can attach the relay to a mob farm, and it could turn on the mob farm, which is attached to a whole bunch of other stuff, which is importing wither skulls. So you got an importer taking your wither skeletons in, and yeah, you can get pretty complicated with this. So these in conjunction with each other can work really well. All right, now we're going to talk about 4 new blocks here. We're going to talk about a fluid grid, a disk manipulator, an or regular interface, and then a fluid interface. So let's start off with this fluid grid. You'll notice that I actually have actual lava stored inside of here and not just a bucket of lava. So this is all one system, and you can see that inside of here, it's differentiating between the actual fluid and a bucket of the fluid. So the fluid grid is just going to show you how much of any given fluid that you have in your system, and we'll show you how to get that into your system in just a second. The item interface here basically, and the fluid interface, basically just interface with the world, other mods, other item conduits, item pipes, so that you can interface with other things. So let's say we want to use some Ender IO conduit here. I have this set to extract, and it's going to import into this chest here. Inside of the GUI, I have either an option to export or import, so I am going to set this to export wool, and I'm just going to put a block there, and it's going to send items out of my system and into this chest, and it's going to interface with this pipe here. And I could do the same with importing, so let's say I have magenta wool here, and I put that right inside of there. This is set to extract automatically and import right into here. So you can have multiple facings of this doing different things. You can have some importing, some exporting, and this is all well and good. And you can put some upgrades in here as well. The fluid interface works basically the same way. So I have a tank of lava here, and this is actually not set to export anything. So I'm going to insert. So there it is. Insert. So this is going to slowly start to fill up with lava. But since it's importing into the system, the lava is actually filling up in this over here. So you can see the lava levels are slowly going up. So that's one way to get fluids into your system. The export bus also works where I can send lava out just like this, and it will fill up in the nice GUI over here. I can set this to always active. Okay, and this will export lava out of my system and into this tank here. So the interfaces, fluid interface, item interface, are used to basically interface with other blocks in the world to get things in and out of your system. The disk manipulator is basically used to clean up your system and to decide where you want to actually store the items and what type of storage you want to store it on. So right now, I have all of this stuff here, and it's basically all being stored on the storage block here. So I have 1124 items on the storage block, and then I have these 64K disks with absolutely nothing on them. So let's say I wanted to take stuff from the storage block and put them onto the storage disks. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do extract from network. So I'm going to take items that are in the network, I'm going to extract them from the network, and I'm going to put them in the in slot over here. So if I put this here, you can see that it's slowly filling up with space. It's when it's filled or when it's done and it has no more items to put on it, it's going to go over here into the output slot. You can upgrade this here, and then I can take it out, and now there will be nothing on my storage block here, and everything will be on my card. So as you upgrade your cards, as you get higher and higher tier, so as you go from 1 to 4, from 4 to 16, 16 to 64, you're probably going to slowly want to manipulate your items so that you keep putting your stuff on your larger blocks, and then you can go ahead and actually break down these storage disks. So if they're empty, you can shift right click, boop, and it will actually get the storage part back, and then you can use the storage part to craft a higher tier storage disk. So that's the disk manipulator. All right, so now we're going to talk about wireless and remote storage, and this is really cool. So you can actually access all of your items wirelessly by placing a wireless transmitter on top of a piece of cable, and that is the only place that it will go right now. You can upgrade it with range upgrades, so you can see that the default is 16 blocks, and every range upgrade increases the range, so you can use this up to 48 blocks away. In order to use your wireless grid, you're going to have some sort of charging device, so I'm going to put this right in here. It's going to charge right up. And if I right click, it's not actually going to do anything because it's not linked. So go ahead and right click on your controller, or shift right click on your controller. You can see that it's now linked, and it gives you the location in the world. And you can go ahead and right click anywhere, and you can access all of your items in your grid. Next, we have the network transmitter and the network receiver. The transmitter needs to be connected in some way to your network. You are going to have to create a network card. Go ahead and right click on the network receiver, and go ahead and put that right inside there, and it will tell you that it's actually linked. So now you see that this is lit up, and we can actually access our stuff remotely. This can be used very far away, but the farther away that you go, the more RS you are actually going to use. So we have 15 here and 62 here. So it's actually pulling a fairly decent amount of power, even though it's a very short distance away. Now you can also use this thing called an interdimensional upgrade to basically transmit your network to other dimensions, and that's going to cost you a pretty penny in power, and it's going to cost you 1,000. The constructor and the destructor are two neat little blocks. The constructor will use items from your network and place them in the world, and you can set a block type here. So if I set the constructor to construct dirt, it's going to take dirt from my system and put it down. So I'm going to turn this off. The destructor will actually break blocks that are in front of it and bring them into your network. So you can see that I have 48 there, breaks 49. So those are pretty cool blocks that can be used in a variety of different ways. All right, we got 5 blocks left to cover, and this is going to cover autocrafting. This is really awesome and really, really simple. There will be changes on this in the future, so if this doesn't work exactly the same as you see it now, I apologize, but this will give you a general understanding and idea of what is actually going on. So we have a couple different types of grids, and here they are. Here we have a pattern grid, a crafting grid, and these are different than your normal grid because the crafting grid will actually give you a crafting GUI here. And I would make this as soon as possible. This will basically allow you to craft things right inside of here. It'll pull resources from your network, and then you can go ahead and put them right in there. So that is fantastic. You can also change the search option mode, so you can do JEI synchronized. So if you go back into it and search for, oh, let's say I search for something here. So diamond, it's going to search here and also in JEI. So that's really neat. All right, so this is the pattern grid here, and the only difference between the crafting grid and the pattern grid here is that it's going to actually allow you to create patterns and program them and put them in a crafter. So how do we set up auto crafting? So you just saw me make a crafting bench, so I'm going to do the same thing here, except I'm going to put some patterns in this slot here. I'm going to do create pattern, and it's going to say that it's can create one crafting table, and if I mouse over and shift click, it's going to change to what it actually is, and B, it's going to say it inputs 4 oak planks to create one crafting table. I'm going to take that pattern out and put that inside a crafter, which is connected to my network. Okay, so I'm connected with cable here, so I'm going to put that inside of my crafter, just like this. Super awesome. I'm going to go back into my crafting terminal here, and now it knows how to craft crafting tables. So I'm going to make 10 of those. I'm going to click start, and boop, there we go. And it's going to start using wood, and then it's going to start making crafting tables, and there they are. Bam, just made them all in one shot. So that's really awesome. Inside the GUI of the crafter here, you can put 9 different processing patterns. So you see that I have a diamond chest, gold chest, iron chest, oak chest, 4 sticks, so on and so forth. You can change trigger auto crafting with a redstone signal. Okay, so you can use this along with the detector and the relay to set up something there. And you can also attach speed upgrades inside of these crafters to make them go a little bit faster. If you attach a crafting monitor to your network, it will actually tell you what the system is crafting. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to pull out diamond chest, and I know how to make all the different tiers of chests. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to make 10 diamond chests. I have all the available resources, so this is going to cost me a lot of stuff here. I'm going to click start, and then I'm going to open up this here, and it's going to actually slowly tell me what is actually going on. So it's building the different tiers, and this is actually what's changing in the future. But it's building all the different tiers, and it's giving me a completion. So we're at 44%, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, bam, just made them all. So now I have 10 diamond chests. So that's the basic auto crafting. And as many recipes as you have, you're going to need to keep adding these crafters to your network, more and more and more and more. And it's going to cost you a little bit of power. So where are they here? I have some crafters, 2 RS per tick, 3 RS per tick. So the more patterns inside, the more RS per tick you're going to use. And so that's really it as far as crafting goes. All right, so you can see inside my system that it actually knows how to make printed improved processors and printed advanced processors. But we already know that you actually can't make those in a shapeless crafting grid. You need an outside machine, the solderer. So how did I set that up? Well, I have a crafter here, and I have the pattern for a one of these here and one of these here. So I have a printed and advanced, or an improved and advanced, and it knows how to make them. So how do we actually do that? So let's say we wanted to use one of these. So we're going to put a silicon in here, and boop, we're going to get a printed silicon. So we're going to do 2 things. We're going to get a printed silicon, and we're going to get an iron here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a little bit more silicon. If I could spell it. There we go. I'm going to grab a refined storage silicon, and I have a piece of iron already. So we've made that. I have it set up to an import bus that's coming to my system. This is slightly broken right now. That will be fixed. Don't worry. Okay, so I have a printed basic processor. So that's going to be used to make that. The printed silicon is going to be used to make or the silicon is used to make the printed silicon. So this is where the processing pattern encoder comes into play. And basically what you need to do here is you need to specify what resources will create what outcome. So if I put one silicon here, and then I put a printed silicon in the outcome, you see that the create pattern button just lit up there, and I can do create. It's going to use up the pattern, put it inside here. I can shift click to mouse over it, and then I'm going to go ahead and put that inside of my crafter here. So now I know how to make printed silicon. Okay, so I can go inside my crafting thing here. I can do start. It's going to say there's 64 available. Click start. It's going to put it inside there, just like that. It's going to suck it into my system, and then I'll have my printed silicon. So if I wanted to make, boop, clear that out, one iron ingot to make one basic processor, encode, put that in here, and then enter that there. Now my system will know how to make the printed basic processor. Awesome. All right, so let's say I wanted to make something a little bit more advanced, like the improved processor. I'm going to do it the same way. We're going to take one printed silicon, we're going to take one redstone, we're going to take one of these, and we're going to put the outcome over here, and we're going to program it, okay? And that's fantastic. And if we put it inside of here, it'll work fantastic. Where you can run into a little bit of a problem is actually if you accidentally do something like this. Let's say there's no redstone in here, you take a stack nonchalantly, put it in there. Of course, I can't even do this by accident right now. And let's say you just add a whole bunch of them in there, and then you just hit encode. It's actually going to use 5 redstone, so it's going to try to shove 5 redstone into this machine every time you might want to make one improved processor, which is actually going to be a problem for you. So make sure when you set up these patterns that you set them up exactly to where they exactly to the ratio that they should be. So let's say you want to make a bronze ingot, you'll need like 3 copper and 1 iron dust. You want to make sure that you specify that there's 3 copper dust and 1 iron, and not just 1 copper and 1 iron. Otherwise, your system will jam and it'll actually never make anything. You can take your broken pattern, so this one's broken, it needs 5 redstone, and I can shift right click to clear that pattern out. I can put it back in there and actually give it the right pattern, which is this, encode, good. I'm going to go ahead and put it in my crafter. Doop. Oh, there's already one in there. Okay. And then I'm going to hit craft, and it's going to tell me exactly what I need. So I need to craft one of these, and one of these, and I have plenty of resources available. So I'm going to hit start. I'm going to go ahead and open up my crafting monitor, and it's actually going to be making all of this stuff here. So it just made that. Now it needs this, and these are all going through the solder. So as soon as this is done, it should make this inside of here, so you can see this action happening. Just put all 3 of them in there, and it's going to craft this thing, and it will be done in just 1 second. Okay, so that's the processing pattern encoder, and that's how you make processing patterns. All right, it's important to note that in this version that you need to actually make sure that your crafter is facing the block that you want it to interface with, and this is where it needs to be attached to the machine. So let's say I drop this alloy smelter here. I got my crafter set up, and I want to actually set it up to make energetic alloy. I'm going to go inside my processing pattern encoder, clear this out, put a glowstone, a gold, a redstone, this in here, get the pattern. Awesome. Going to go ahead and put it inside of my crafter over here. So now it knows how to make energetic alloy. And then if I have the resources, which I think I do, yep, I have plenty of resources available. I'm going to click Start to Craft. It's going to pull the resources out of the system. It's going to put them in the queue, and it's going to make my energetic alloy. So that is really cool. I said that was really cool, but it's stuck here. It's stuck at 75%, and it's really, really trying to craft this, but something is wrong, and you're going to have to go ahead and debug it in your system, so to speak. So my mistake was that I actually have no way to import the energetic alloy from the alloy smelter back into the system. So I can just throw that on there. These machines are really smart, unlike some other machines, and it will actually craft it, and that will go away, and I will now have it inside of my system. All right, so that's about all I got for you guys. Hopefully this gave you a really good idea of how to use this mod, and if there are changes in the future, perhaps we will do an updated, full-blown Minecrafter style in-depth tutorial on this mod. I'm sure there will be a lot of changes coming, so look out for those. But for now, I hope you enjoy this mod. It's really simple, really cool, reminiscent of Applied Energistics, obviously, AE1 even. Yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit like if you liked the video, if it was helpful to you. Leave a comment in the comments below. Check us out on our Discord channel. And as always, guys, stay poised and get ready for more tutorials.